Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Rowe. Time for more quick Sundance reviews. We're going to talk about some of the films we're seeing at the Sundance Film Festival. First up is Violation, directed by and starring Madeline Sims Fewer and co-directed by Dusty Mancinelli. From the moment this film started, I was like gripped. Gorgeous cinematography that was also very unique. There's like these interesting kind of like cutaways to slow motion, drone helicopter shots set to like classical music that is like amazing and just creates such an atmosphere and a tone that like it really just sets you up like on the edge of your seat. What am I going to get from this? You'll have a good understanding of what this film is like if you've seen Lars von Trier films, Antichrist, Melancholia, stuff like that. And I think that this would compete with some of like Lars von Trier's best stuff. It's extremely brutal and gross and graphic, but I don't think it's completely exploitative. And yet it also kind of is. Like, does it need to be this extreme of a story? There is a genre that has like paved the way for a movie like this to go in and subvert it. And that is like a big part of what this movie is doing, is like playing into a specific genre. And I really don't want to reveal like very many details. I don't even think we're just gonna give a plot summary at all. I really liked how the performances were in this film. They felt very natural. It felt like they could have been improvising dialogue. Yeah, dialogue was great, by the way. And I have to say that I loved how, as bleak of a movie as this is not a movie where all the characters are shy little fucks who never smile. They joke around a lot, like it felt real and natural in that way. All the acting in the film was really excellent. I was very impressed to learn that the lead actress in this film was actually the director. That performance also just seems so goddamn tough. I'm not always a fan of these like super ultra brutal like Von Trier films. The nihilism of human nature. We are disgusting creatures. Yeah. And I was worried at times that this movie was going to be that because of how brutal it would be. And you get like, long takes, static shots, just watching like shit happen. But I think the film ended up having a purpose, and it ended up being a really insightful portrait of trauma and gaslighting and how one event kind of, maneuvers in someone's mind and becomes dangerous. Certain scenes had a very distinct way that they shot them that was very effective. The cinematography and the color palettes are great. The storytelling in general, in like a visual way and like how the story is structured, is like incredible. I really admire it. I really respect it. If you're even a little bit squeamish or you don't like gross things, or you're just like easily disturbed in general, this is up there with like some of the most disturbing films I've seen. But again, I think it has a core and a purpose. It kind of gives it like a pass in order to like be this. And it takes the violence like a little bit seriously. Even though on some level, like this stuff would only really happen like in a movie. And it's almost like a fantasy that you want to like put on film, for the kind of sicko reasons that people make these like violent movies in the first place. There are times where I question how much it needed to go there. Oh yeah, I question that too. I do. I just kind of accept it. Yeah, I accept that it's like part of this culty subgenre. Big trigger warnings on this film. If you have certain things that you're nervous would set you off in this film, you should maybe do a little digging and find out if that's something that's not going to be for you. It's definitely going to get NC-17 if it ever gets released. I can't like praise some aspects of this film more, but on a personal level, it's like a little bit hard for me to absolutely love it because it's so like morally fucked. Weirdly, in a way, it kind of like builds sympathy for like both sides because it's so brutal that like nobody can be correct. And that is a challenging thing for a movie to do. I think the film's definitely aware that it's going too far, but it also is able to provide a psychological justification for why the character would be driven to do things. It does make you question like why you're this fucked up. And I don't know if the movie has an answer for that. And that's kind of where I'm like, what? Yeah. I would give the film an 8. I'm going to go between an 8 and a 9 on this one because this is like growing on me. And the next film we're talking about is Land. This is Robin Wright's directorial debut, which she also stars in. And the only real supporting member of the cast is Damian Bashir. It's about a grieving woman in her, whatever age Robin Wright is, who goes out to a cabin in a sort of desperate attempt to find something in her life. After going through a tragedy. Yeah, that'll keep her going. She's a big time noob and she doesn't know how to do stuff. Damian Bashir helps her learn how to do stuff. I don't know why we made so many jokes about this film like during it and like right now. I don't know why it's so ripe for jokes to me. It's a really funny movie. Yeah, this film is exactly what you'd kind of expect. From the trailer, I was like, this seems pretty standard for movies like these. You know, we've had like Wild. This year we've had Nomadland, and those are both really good movies, okay? So this is a good genre. But then we get a movie like this and it's like, okay, what's this gonna bring to it? And the answer is like literally nothing, in my opinion. I mean, I'm gonna be harsh on this one. I'm gonna be harsher than most people. And it's not because there's anything that's bad about the movie. It's because like it didn't introduce anything new to me. Like, why make this? Why tell like this kind of story? I think it comes from a good place, and it comes from a place where, you know, somebody wants to put on screen like how somebody can heal from something tragic and start their life over, and they do it through this transcendental vehicle. It's just very cliche and a big part of that I think is that what you see happening on screen is often just very like physical. She's learning how to like chop wood and stuff. And then like her buddy like I don't know why it's funny. It's so hilarious. Well, I don't really know what to say except for that there's no surprises in it. Damien Bashir's character is supposed to be like the agent that really facilitates all this change. But even him, it's like he's just basically looking out for her, and it's like the fact that she is like cared for is like what heals her. When she's doing all these things like in the woods, you don't really get anything like much out of it. It's not like these are poetic scenes where maybe you're like holding on the act of her like chopping wood long enough that there's like some kind of revelation that comes out of it, or some sort of poetry that is like invoked, which usually comes when you chop wood long enough. You'll have that kind of experience. Maybe you break down crying after a while and you realize like what the wood represents. It's not like artistic. Even the cinematography, I felt like it was very good looking, but it didn't do that much. It was just sort of looking good and serviceable. Here's where I will defend the movie. If you look at it through a lens of like, oh, how is it about like nature? How is it a transcendental text? I think it's not the best at that. But I think it is a good movie. That's all it's trying to do. No, that's why I disagree, because I think it's more about how someone chooses to grieve, where in the beginning of the film, she's like, I need to grieve alone. The way that she heals has to do with like how she's willing to accept or not accept other people as they come into her life. And I think the end actually hit that point home. I think it's pretty clear by the end that the movie is going for that. But of course, even though overall, like, yeah, it was a little bit of a dull movie and my interest was kind of like middling. Robin Wright and Damien Bashir are very good in the movie. They're not like, you know, gonna get nominated for Oscars or anything. Also, there are a lot of scenes when Robin Wright like cries and stuff. And I think there were too many scenes that Robin Wright gave herself to cry. Like there's one part where she really broke down and it was like a little too much. It was like, ah! She was alone. She was screaming. But she was alone, so I get it. One thing the film does that is actually kind of interesting for a directorial debut is that there are long stretches of time without any dialogue. Kudos to trying out like making a film without dialogue and just doing it completely through actions, but it's not one of the most powerful examples of that. I was kind of in the middle in this movie, but I think it's ultimately like kind of successful, and I liked the end enough that I would give it a 6. I give it a 4. Another film we watched was Pleasure, a great companion piece to Violation. Both NC-17, undoubtedly. Yep. This film follows a 19-year-old girl who moves to Hollywood from Sweden to become a porn star. Her goal is basically like to rise to the top. You know, you can see where the movie's going for that. She's going to dive deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of this industry, and it's going to test her limits as to how far she's willing to go. Which parts of herself does she feel like she's sacrificing to get to places? And in some ways, it kind of makes it a generic sort of storyline, like you know where it's going. You've kind of seen this film before, but obviously in some ways you haven't seen the film before, because it introduced me to sides of this industry that I had never seen, and sort of attitudes that seemed very realistic that people might have within the industry. The way that everybody on the set, you know, appears to be like very caring about consent and making sure everybody's comfortable, but then there's like a darker side to that where technically like everybody's consenting, but there's some sort of pressure going on. And there are some scenes that are really like uncomfortable where you're watching the actress go through this and are concerned about her or worried about how she's really feeling about putting herself through this. The lead performance is very good. I thought the directing in the film was really strong. It does follow a similar path, but it did take me through a new world, so I definitely appreciated it for that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good movie for just showing you like kind of all angles of this industry. And what's good about it is that it's not overly preachy about this industry is all good or this industry is all bad. Like it shows its dark shades and it shows like its more benign shades. I think you can watch this film and have like a more nuanced like view of it. It's not like, oh, all of this is bad, all of this is terrible, but you learn about like the shitty parts of it. And it does a good job at having this internal battle for the character, and you can see how she sort of transforms over the course of the movie, and you know how the industry like imprints their culture on her. And I really wanted to highlight the lead performance in this film. She is excellent in it. There's someone who becomes her friend who's also really good in this movie. Everything about them just feels like very real.
The biggest drawback might have been that the main character is ultimately less explored than I was hoping that she would be. It doesn't really give her a great justification for why she chose this industry, why she wants it so bad. I think if she had that, that could have made the story a little more dynamic. In some parts, it feels a little repetitive.
And overall, I feel like it doesn't pack that much of a punch. It's more of just a fascinating exploration of this industry, and it's very well directed and well cast. I would give it a recommendation. I give it a 7 out of 10.
I give it a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you feel pleasure right now?